Hi everyone, my name is Elizabeth and today we're going to be talking about the dangers of hypothermia. So have you ever had hypothermia? If you said no, you're lying and you'll understand why in a little bit. But before we get started, we're going to do a quick overview of what we're going to be talking about. So the first thing is the actual warning signs of hypothermia, what you want to look out for in yourself or somebody else. Second thing is the actual causes of hypothermia, which you would think would just be cold weather, but it's really not. And the third thing is the cure for hypothermia, or multiple cures, but these are only if you can't get the person to an actual hospital for medical attention. So let's get started. So the first thing is the warning signs, but before we go into that, you also need to note that the body temperature does fluctuate throughout the day, and our normal body temperature is about 97, 98. But in order to be considered hypothermic, your body temperature has to be 95 degrees or lower. Which is why I said earlier, you have been hypothermic because your body temperature has definitely at least dropped to 95. So let's get started with the warning signs. So according to the Gale Encyclopedia of Science, the danger signs include intense shivering, stiffness, numbness in the arms and legs, stumbling and dizziness, sleepiness, confusion, disorientation, amnesia, and irrational behavior, as well as difficulty speaking. So let's say you're looking at your patient and you don't know, they might have some of these signs, but you're not completely sure. So what I've learned is a great way to actually test if they're getting really bad is to ask them to zip up their sweater. And you may be thinking, well, that's so simple. Exactly, it is simple. So they should be able to do it no problem. But if they're getting really bad, they're not going to be able to do a simple task like that. So let's move on. The next thing is the actual causes of hypothermia. So according to the Gale Encyclopedia of Neurological Disorders, hypothermia is divided into two types, which is primary and secondary. So primary hypothermia occurs when the body's heat balancing mechanisms are working properly, but are subjected to extreme cold, whereas secondary hypothermia affects people whose heat balancing mechanisms are impaired in some way and cannot respond adequately to moderate or mild cold. Mild cold being 60s, 70s, maybe even like a little early, not early, low 80s, and definitely not moderate cold, which is 40s or 50s. Also, according to the UXL Encyclopedia of Weather and Natural Disasters, hypothermia is usually the result of exposure to cold weather, like I said earlier, especially cold water. For example, if you're hiking and you accidentally fall into a cold river, it's very dangerous. So make sure if that happens, you get into dry clothing and get warm as soon as possible. Continuing on, the body loses heat quickly in cold water, and temperatures do not have to be below freezing in order to become hypothermic. Wind also decreases body heat rapidly, and actually some people do get hypothermic in air conditioning. So you can even get hypothermic in your own home, which is very crazy. So now you know the causes of hypothermia. We're now going to move on to the actual cures of hypothermia. So according to the Human Diseases and Conditions, treatment for hypothermia includes keeping the patient warm while seeking immediate medical attention if possible, of course. If the clothing is wet, it should be removed carefully. The patient should be warmed slowly, starting with the trunk of the body, which is this area, by covering them with warm blankets. So another way, if you can't do any of these, which you should try to if possible, would be to get a cup similar to this, depending on where you are, and to put warm liquids, but to give it to them very slowly because you can potentially put them into shock if you try giving it to them too fast, which is not good, especially if they're already getting really bad. Also, if they're getting really bad, this is going to be a little uncomfortable, but if you're in the wilderness and they're getting to the point where they can't produce body heat anymore, you're going to have to put them in a sleeping bag, completely unclothed, and have somebody they trust go in there too, completely unclothed, and you guys are going to have to, the person who isn't hypothermic is going to have to share body heat with them through skin to skin contact in order for them to actually start warming up again. So, we're done. It's very important to take this really seriously because, according to the Gale Encyclopedia of Science, between 1979 and 2005, deaths from hypothermia in the United States have ranged from about 400 to about 1,100 annually. And I know that's not recent, but it's still a lot considering this isn't really high up there in big amounts of death, but it's still something to think about, especially if you're going out, camping, hiking, backpacking, all that fun stuff. So just be careful, and I hope that this video helped you feel a little bit more educated and know what to do in case of an emergency like this one. Thank you.